Hey there, science fans! Have you ever wondered why we laugh when we get tickled? It's a question that has puzzled scientists and philosophers for ages. Tickling is a fascinating phenomenon that involves our senses, our brains, and our emotions. Tickling is a type of touch that produces a specific sensation, often accompanied by laughter. It's a strange mix of feelings, isn't it? It can be enjoyable and even painful at times. But what exactly is going on in our bodies and minds when we experience this unique sensation? Get ready to explore the science behind tickling and unravel the mysteries of this peculiar human experience. Did you know there are actually two types of tickling? It's true. We have nismesis and gargalesis. Nismesis is that light, feathery touch that might make you twitch a little. Think about a gentle breeze or a spider crawling on your skin. It's usually not something that makes you laugh out loud. Gargalesis is the real deal when it comes to tickle attacks. This is the kind of tickling that involves poking, prodding, and wriggling in those extra sensitive spots. You know, like your feet, armpits, or neck. Gargalesis is what usually sends us into fits of laughter. So, why the two types? Scientists believe they evolved for different reasons. Nismesis might help us avoid danger like swatting away a pesky insect. Gargalesis, on the other hand, seems to be all about social bonding and playfulness. More on that later. Now, let's dive into the brain and see what happens when we get tickled. Our skin is covered in tiny sensors called nerve endings. These nerve endings are responsible for detecting all sorts of sensations, including touch, pressure, temperature, and pain. When we're tickled, these nerve endings send signals racing to the brain at lightning speed. The signals travel through the spinal cord and up to the brain, where they reach a special part called the somatosensory cortex. This is the brain's command center for processing touch information. Think of it like a giant switchboard that receives messages from all over the body and figures out what they mean. But here's where things get really interesting. The somatosensory cortex can tell the difference between a touch that comes from you and a touch that comes from someone else. That's right, your brain knows when you're trying to tickle yourself. So, how does the brain know the difference between self-touch and touch from others? Well, it's all thanks to a clever little part of the brain called the cerebellum. The cerebellum is located at the back of the brain, and it's responsible for coordinating movement, balance, and a whole bunch of other important functions. But the cerebellum has a secret superpower. It can predict the sensory consequences of your own actions. In other words, it knows what sensations to expect when you move your body in a certain way. So, when you try to tickle yourself, the cerebellum steps in and says, "Hold on a minute, I know what you're up to. This is you touching yourself, not someone else." The cerebellum sends a message to the somatosensory cortex, essentially canceling out the tickle sensation. It's like turning down the volume on a song you've heard a million times before. Your brain knows what to expect, so it doesn't get as excited. Section 5. Why we laugh, tickling the limbic system. But wait, there's more. Tickling doesn't just involve the somatosensory cortex and the cerebellum. It also activates the limbic system, which is the emotional center of the brain. The limbic system is responsible for all sorts of feelings, including pleasure, fear, and, you guessed it, laughter. When we're tickled, especially in those extra sensitive spots, the limbic system kicks into gear. Scientists believe that laughter is a natural response to the unexpected and unpredictable nature of tickling. It's like our brain's way of saying, "Whoa, what was that?" So, tickling isn't just about touch, it's a full-blown sensory and emotional experience. Section 6. Self-awareness. You can't fool your brain. Now, you might be thinking, but what about those times when I laugh if I tickle myself? Good question. It's true that some people are more ticklish than others, and there are even a few folks out there who claim they can tickle themselves. However, for the vast majority of us, self-tickling just doesn't have the same effect. That's because our brains are incredibly good at distinguishing between self-generated sensations and sensations that come from the outside world. This is known as self-awareness. When we try to tickle ourselves, our brains are already one step ahead. We know exactly where our fingers are going, how much pressure we're applying, and what it's going to feel like. There's no element of surprise and therefore, no tickle response. Section 7. The evolutionary purpose of tickling, from social bonding to survival. So, if we can't tickle ourselves, why did we evolve to be ticklish in the first place? Well, scientists believe that ticklishness serves several important evolutionary purposes. For starters, it's a powerful tool for social bonding. Think about it. When we tickle someone or they tickle us, it usually involves laughter, playfulness, and physical contact. These are all activities that strengthen social bonds and create a sense of closeness and connection. Tickling might also play a role in protective responses. Those extra sensitive areas that are most ticklish, like our necks and armpits, are also vulnerable spots on our bodies. Ticklishness could be a way to protect these areas from injury. Section 8. The psychology of tickling, why others can tickle us but we can't tickle ourselves. But there's more to it than just biology. Tickling also has a strong psychological component. When someone else tickles us, it creates a sense of playful vulnerability. We're letting our guard down and allowing someone else to have control over our body, even if it's just for a moment. This playful vulnerability can be incredibly bonding, but it also requires a certain level of trust. We're more likely to enjoy being tickled by someone we feel safe and comfortable with. On the other hand, being tickled by someone we don't know or trust can be an unpleasant experience. That's because our brains interpret the unexpected touch as a potential threat, even if it's not intended to be harmful. Section 9. The element of surprise, why you can't tickle yourself. So, to sum it all up, the reason we can't tickle ourselves is because our brains are incredibly good at predicting and canceling out the sensory consequences of our own actions. Tickling requires an element of surprise and unpredictability, which is simply absent when we try to tickle ourselves. Our brains know exactly what to expect, so they don't bother sending out those laughter-inducing signals. It's like trying to scare yourself in the mirror, it just doesn't work. But hey, just because we can't tickle ourselves doesn't mean we can't enjoy a good tickle fight with friends and family. Section 10. Fun fact: animal antics and ticklish tales. Did you know that humans aren't the only ones who enjoy a good tickle? It's true. Many animals, including primates, dogs, and even rats, exhibit ticklish behavior. Scientists believe that ticklishness in animals might serve similar social bonding and protective functions as it does in humans. So next time you're feeling ticklish, remember that you're in good company. Section 11. Tickle Challenge: Can you outsmart your senses? Alright, science explorers, now it's your turn to put your ticklishness to the test. Find a willing volunteer, maybe a friend or family member, and take turns trying to tickle each other. Pay attention to how it feels to be tickled versus how it feels to do the tickling. Can you trick your brain into feeling ticklish when you tickle yourself? Why or why not? Share your observations and see if you can come up with any creative ways to outsmart your senses. Remember, science is all about asking questions, making observations, and having fun. Stay curious, keep exploring, and never stop tickling your funny bone.